Ralph, yeah.
Nopadon is here, but we never hear from him. Nopadon, say hello.
Hello, Nopadam.
Nopadon ไม่ค่อยพูด Nopadon ขอดูหน้าหน่อย
Yes.
Hi.
I think Ajahn is ready now, so we can start.
Oh, wonderful.
Lucas, you mentioned many questions you have, which you are going to raise one or two on Monday. Would you like to start with any of your questions today?
He's mute. He should unmute. Yeah.
Hello, Nina. Hello, Sarah. Hello, everyone.
Yes, Lucas.
The one question I remember was about the forgetfulness in life and what was that vitaka? Because Tanajan a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, she said something about when we talk about forgetfulness in life, and I was wondering because it's not a cetasika, yeah, the forgetfulness, because sat is a cetasika, and Tanajan says something like the case of forgetfulness. It may be something like vitaka, yeah, that leads away to the particular object that is actually not the object of understanding and awareness. So that's my question, because actually in my case, in my life, it's a lot of forgetfulness, to be honest.
I think the point Ajahn was stressing when this topic came up was even at the moments that we think there is forgetfulness, such as forgetting what the question is, forgetting where the key is, forgetting what someone's name is, even at those moments of forgetfulness, sanya is arising and marking and remembering its object. It's just that it's not the object we would like it to remember, but sanya is even at those moments of what we call forgetfulness. So actually it is forgetful, it is remembering at every moment, and it just depends on what object vitaka leads the chitta to. So at this moment of thinking, there's memory at each moment, but what is thought about right now depends on what vitaka leads to. Perhaps Ajahn would like to add more to your question.
Would you like to understand the nature of vitaka, or what? Or to understand all dhammas are not self at all, even right now? It's not known, the nature of that which now sees, experiencing, and hearing, experiencing. But we just talk about it. But what about that reality, its nature, just to arise and experience? At that moment, who knows that vitaka? Impossible, because the first thing to be the direct object for understanding the truth is the characteristic which is not self. So now we are talking about realities which cannot be anything besides its real nature, each one. But we don't know at all, so we just learn about what is there before it can appear to the highly developed panya to really understand the nature which just arises. The characteristic which cannot be taken for anything is the characteristic which just experience right now. For example, if we don't think about anything at all, but still there is that reality which arises. See, it experiences, but the object is not known, because at that moment the characteristic which experiences just there, unknown as it's not self. So the self is there. That's why we have to understand that what is taken for something or someone or I is at this moment of everything. And the thinking about vitaka and so on is just what we have learned but that which does not appear cannot be object of understanding. So the point is that how can there be conditions to understand what is appearing now as it is, as different characteristic? One cannot experience anything, but it's there as object. It cannot be anything. That's why we learn to understand the very close moment which arises and falls away so very rapidly that no one can understand the characteristic as it is the vitaka that which lead to this and that, or it is the phassa which contacts it. Just learn about there's no one. Only that which experiences is not known directly, clearly yet. So at this moment, there is thinking about vitaka. What's that? And where's that? See, it's only in memory about that. But can there be the direct understanding of vitaka? Impossible. What can be known in the first thing that the characteristic which now experiences? But since no one can make the direct awareness and direct understanding of this moment just to arise at all, that's why it needs conditions for understanding the truth about no self. No matter it is something there, the citta arises, experience it, and without the cittasikas which arise with that moment, it's impossible to let go the idea of self. So very deeply rooted, covered up very tightly. See, even when heard about no one knows self all the time, but what about seeing right now? See? So just learn to understand as much as one can understand. There is phassa for sure, and there is vitaka for sure. Why? We understand vitaka and phassa as no one can make anything to arise, only different conditions. And this is my point, but I don't know whether you'd like to understand more about it, as whether it is ayatana. Is vitaka ayatana as well? When we talk about ayatana, in order to
Yes, of
understand
course.
just one word for one reality at a time. Is it dukkha? See, by way of different texts from this book or that book. But what is true at this moment, just know that it's there. It is ayatana. What kind of ayatana? Just know that it is ayatana. It's not enough. Just what kind, to understand better, to know the details that is so very, very subtle, to understand the subtlety of each reality, little by little, to understand how deeply rooted it's there, covered up. We are talking about what is appearing. For example, hardness right now, as what Buddha taught from his enlightenment, but no enlightenment at this moment. So what about that which appears is very, very shallow, just the skin, not go down deeper to the nature it arises and falls away. And only one reality can appear at a time as the object. So what about that moment? So much different from this moment, full of everything. See, and what can be known? Just arise and falls away. So as much as we can understand is that they are not self, no matter what we're talking about. Ayatana or Ariya Satya or Dhatu or whatever subject or different aspects. It's our time. We can understand the different levels of anchor or attachment or mana, but not understanding their nature as no one and no self. And the truth is that they cannot just stay for long, only just arise and falls away instantly. So what can be known and direct understanding clearer and clearer is that which is now appearing. But there are no conditions yet, not enough condition. That's why what we are talking about, the different characteristics, different aspects, to understand that actually it cannot be taken for something permanent as a tree, a chair, or a person. See, what about that meaning? The meaning of no one and no thing. Just imagine. Just one reality appear, otherwise it cannot be no one. If there are so many things arise together like now, it cannot let go the idea of something all the time. Even when one wakes up, not thinking about anything, but the pleasant feeling is there. Who has such pleasant feeling? No one, but the idea of I feel very pleasant, so happy. Even nothing appears as the object, see? But there must be the feeling, which is not self, the memory, sanya, which is not self, and other thing. Only when it appears, it's there. Ignorance is there, no understanding, until it's there with understanding. From intellectual understanding developed to understand that the truth is that the characteristic which appears now as it is, no one at all. And this is the point of studying the teachings, to understand what is there now as it is, the absolute truth. Actually, what is there is gone very rapidly, never to return. That's why we learn more about how can it be such nature, which is hidden, the truth, because of the rapidity of the succession from moment to moment. It becomes a something permanent as I, thing, all around, different from only one reality appears at a time, to be known as that cannot be anything at all. It has its own characteristic, which appears clearly that it's just that, no one, no thing, no change. So to understand phassa and vitakka, see, and other cetasika, manasikara, or the ekakata cetasika, all other names now, but the truth is that it's not only the name, they are there now, unknown. And what can be known as the object of direct understanding with understanding, we don't know when. But the truth is that if they do not appear as they are, impossible to eradicate the idea of self. That's why learning more, understanding the truth.
Ajahn, what is more? I was wondering quickly, what is more important in that, to see the characteristic of each Dhamma particularly, or more to know that everything that appears is anatta? What is more important first, Ajahn?
But what about the characteristic which is different, like one can experience and the other cannot experience? Otherwise, we just think about the name, the nama, and the rupa. See? It's only in one's mind, the story of these realities. But at moment of touching, what is that which is not self, which just arises and experiences that object only, and then gone? And so many things in between, unknown, so fast. What appears in life is just seeing and hearing. And when it's time for anger, it arises and be object, and then it's gone. But so many realities are there from that moment on to the other moment which appears unknown. Like from the process of seeing and the process of hearing, what are in between? See, not known. What appears is just the same actual moment they are seeing and hearing together, See, but that is not clear understanding because the object does not appear as clear as is different ones. That's why to understand it, no one who sees and no one who hears, no one who thinks, no one likes and no one hates, or no one has mana and so on, beginning to remember they are not self. Nothing can be taken for something permanent as it is, as it appears like now. See, the truth is that it's so very subtle. And how can Panya can penetrate the truth? It has to be from the skin, the peel, that it appears, but no understanding of the truth of it. And the studying, learning about the truth will lead to understanding. What is heard and is so true, but it takes time and no one can force that level of Panya to arise instantly. Otherwise, one cannot see the kilesa which hinder the understanding. It's there all around, lopa and ignorance. But to understand firmer, more confidence that the truth is just like this, and this is the only way to let go the idea of self. That's why each word of the teaching and the path, the fourth noble truth, is so very subtle that no one can understand it only when Panya develops from hearing to the moment of direct awareness, and it is the beginning of seeing or understanding the subtlety, the depth, the profundity of what is there. As it's gone, see, before it's gone, there must be the development of understanding that as just a reality. Otherwise, there is attachment to the other object which follows instantly all the time. No time to understand just one characteristic, and it's there now when it appears. For example, touching now appears. See, and if there is no understanding of that, just try to understand the other thing which is not appearing at that very moment. How can be the moment of understanding it at moment of experiencing it, and that appears so very rapidly, change from moment to moment. What is in between, usually it's ignorance, but when it develops, right understanding can be in between instead of ignorance and attachment. Otherwise, we use the word sati sampachanya or satipatthana, but what is it, and when is it, and how is it? And we heard about the moment when it arrives, it is aware directly to the object. And now there are so many objects, anothernness. We don't know whether will the direct awareness arise and what is the object of it. It's there already for Panya, with Panya, to understand at that very moment as that is a moment of having direct awareness and direct understanding. But it's so weak, and it needs more understanding. Little by little, as not me, not self at all. That moment is conditioned to show its anotherness. And this is the point of listening to the teachings to understand the truth until it conditions moment of direct understanding of what appears.
And Lucas, I think your question at the beginning about forgetfulness and vitaka leading to different objects, it's the same problem for everyone. Everyone would like to have more remembering of kusala, more remembering of understanding, less unwise attention, less akusala vitaka, and so on. Like Betty and Nina were talking about it at the beginning, about how there's so much thinking about all sorts of nonsense during the day, and so few moments of wise attention. But the problem is only the strong clinging to self, wishing to have more remembrance of the right object, more understanding, more kusala. So it just shows how very strong the clinging to self is. And also mana is often there, like when one forgets the names or forgets the Dharma, and then mana causes problems. And wrong view too, taking it for my forgetfulness, my lack of understanding. So it's just common problem, just common lobha that can arise anytime, not my special problem. Because even for those who've heard and studied and understood quite a lot, still most of the day there is ignorance and attachment as usual, forgetfulness of what is important in life, being distressed when by gain and loss and praise and blame and the other worldly conditions. So it's like that all day for everyone because of clinging.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you, Sarah. It does answer the question for me, my doubt. But some people, I just mentioned that some people I met, they say like, if we leave all to the condition, then it's like leaving all to the like do nothing, by them. So maybe you can comment, Ajahn, on that a bit, because many of people I met or monks, they say like. Leave it to condition, so means do nothing, how do you reckon this?
And can we talk more about vitaka? See, different aspect. Is it very important or not important at all? It is the second one of the Eightfold Path, isn't it? See, just ordinary vitaka leading to such and such object by accumulation. So when time comes, right then, it leads to the object with understanding and direct awareness. See, its function. See, no one there at all. That's why we learn more about it, to understand the truth of each one, as whether it is what. It is the second path, see, the Eightfold Path. Without it, how can there be panya, which condition is arising, leading to the object with such or certain understanding at that very moment? No one can change it to be less or more by conditions. How much? When it's the first vipassana jhana, what about wanting it to have more? And so panya can understand what appears in the day as natural. And that is only the sample of the truth when it's so clear. But it's not long, see? So it needs panya to understand it enough to consider what is there in life as usual, to understand the truth, which is like that. But it's covered up by concept and the rapidity of the arising and falling away as actually in a day as before. No change, but panya is there. When there's no panya, it goes on like this. But when there is panya, it still go on by conditions. But panya is there, little by little, to understand the truth. And there is no, just try to pinpoint the vitaka. It's there already with other cetasikas together. See, the nama, how can you just try to break it up to know just one? It's there as object by conditions. And what is there to be known is conditioned. But from understanding of it's not me, it will have less and less attached, condition less and less attachment to that as something. But attachment is so great because it's conditioned from moment to moment, from life to life. So if panya does not know at that very moment, it's there because Panya does not know it yet. Until Panya can understand that very, no matter what degree is there as attachment, it's me all the time, to become less and less. So it's Pajjatang, only oneself can know. One cannot tell the others Panya. And even one's own, the one here, means the reality. Whether when it's strong enough or not, right understanding, when it's very weak, it has to develop on and on, that not enough at all, because this is not known yet, that is not known yet, and lopa and ignorance is there. So the function of Panya is to understand the truth. What is there as condition. Otherwise it cannot appear. So no regret or no just be proud or thinking that one has experienced that. No one there, only different realities appear all day. But what can know is only Panya, right understanding from hearing and considering the truth that no one at all, no self at all. And what we learn is just to understand what is there. Even it does not appear yet, but it's there, like Vitaka. It's now, it does not appear, but it's there, depending on conditions. When will it be object of understanding, or the other thing is object of understanding, just like now, naturally, daily life.
And Lucas, of course, doing nothing is as a misunderstanding the same as doing something. And in fact, no one is saying leave it all to conditions, because that implies that there is something to be done or something not to be done. What the Buddha's teaching is that all sankharas are conditioned. Or as Ajahn was saying, what is there by conditions. And the Buddha explained that there are sankharas arising at the present moment that are unknown, but which are capable of being known. And these sankharas, of course, arise by conditions and can be known. So it's not a matter of doing something or doing nothing. It's a matter of understanding what are the factors that can give rise to an understanding of those sankhara dhammas. And that's why we study in theory what those sankhara dhammas are, what are their characteristics and their functions, and the rest of the Buddha's teaching. So we should not be confused by these misrepresentations of what is being said. No one is saying do nothing or leave it to conditions.
Yes, I understand. Thank you, John. Thank you. Helps, but it's still a long way because it needs so long time, to understand that so little by little only, and no one knows when it comes really, to understand.
Right. It is a long time, and it happens very slowly, gradually.
Right.
Sometimes
no one control anything,
It happens imperceptibly also. So perhaps we are looking for signs of progress that cannot be perceived. But over time, it becomes apparent that there is a better understanding of the idea of conditioned realities and what it means and what they are.
Right.
And it becomes more feasible. The possibility of their understanding becomes more apparent gradually.
And because the idea of self hasn't been eradicated, there's bound to be doubt often. So when you hear someone else saying that something should be done, then the conditions for doubt, because the understanding is not firm enough. The confidence is not strong enough, so easy to be swayed. So that's why understanding has to be really firm to condition direct understanding of realities. No thought or concern about following any practice or doing something. No idea that the self does something or does nothing. But the understanding has to develop on and on. So it doesn't matter what one hears or what one reads. One knows there are only realities arising by conditions now.
Yes, sir. And also, I think everyone with all of us have some kind of problem, in life. I have mine, you may have, or someone else may have his own. But what I'm saying, that studying Dhamma, yeah, like we know that we hear about realities only and about the truth, but I'm saying that it's not so easy to me because I still taking everything as me, myself, my problem, So it's not always really like studying Dhamma in life. Mostly it's like a daydreaming for in my case, at least, So I don't know. Just wanted to just dispel this kind of doubts, a bit.
In every case, daydreaming and fantasizing about nonsense in every case.
It's the same for all of us.
Same for everyone. A bit like the mustard seed sutta, who doesn't have problems, who doesn't have lobha dosa moha most of the day, clinging to self. So
That's it. So,
that's why the Buddha taught about dharmas, not about people, because the same problems in life, no matter what the lifestyle, no matter what the time and age or location, same problems.
thank you, sir. I've got my answers, Thank you to Tanajan also, and you and John. And maybe we go further. Maybe anyone has more better question than me, because that's it for me for today, I will switch to listening now. Okay.
Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you so much.
Hi everyone. I have this one question pop into my mind. I was thinking about people experience different visible object. Like some people who have color blind, they see, they experience different object. The object what appears to everyone and to them are different. Like if, for example, there's red car and everyone can say red, but the person with colorblind problem will say purple or blue. Why is that? Why it's appear to them like that? I want to know.
Actually, it's still just visible object. It's like sometimes in the dark, no colors in the visible object, but it's still visible object that's seen, no matter now or in a dark tunnel, no matter colorblind or wearing glasses or not wearing glasses, whatever it is, it's just visible object. But visible object is always different. Visible object seen is always different. The visible object a moment ago is different from now. The visible object when we first woke up, different from now. So just conditions for seeing to see different visible object that has impinged on eye sense, different conditions, karma conditions, seeing of this visible object that has impinged and not that one. But it's still just visible object. And if we spend our time trying to think, well, why is it this particular visible object and the one with red and not with the one with green and so on, we forget all about understanding just what is seen now.
I understand that, but I know, yeah, you're right. Like if like in theory they are in the darkness, then color won't appear. They need to be light, what is called, but light also is color in, if we say in Dhamma. Like there are like many, I know it's just a story, like scientific ways, color blind, even different animal have different seeing. Some animal can see only some color and all that. So it's because like if there's like, for example, red car, I mean the red, the color, it has to be particular color only. Is that Paramattham. But what's one's experience differently than others, that's because of what condition, what makes it. Because if I see red color, or someone with a normal eyesight see that it's red, because red it is red, it's not something else. So why it appear differently? I'm just
Can I try to answer? So when there's seen, remember there is the eye base and the visible object and the Jaku Vijnana. Now, the visible object that two people look at is exactly the same, say, well, for the sake of argument. However, as you say, one person might see it red and another might see it slightly purple. But remember, the eye base is also conditioned. And for someone like me, now I'm in my 60s, I have to wear glasses. You know, the visible object is not as clear as it used to be, and that's because of the change in the eye base as well. So all of these factors have to be taken into account. Of course, the visible object is still just a visible object that was appearing.
Some people are very sensitive to light, so many, but it's still just visible object what is seen, and each visible object is different, conditioned by the other rupas it arises with. And as Robert says, the eye sense is different, conditioned by karma, and the seeing itself conditioned by karma, not the same.
And just can I, before you come in, Harjit, we know that the every moment of experiencing a visible object is followed by many, many moments of thinking about the object that's been experienced. And to my understanding, it's the thinking process that makes the difference. Because you say that what is red, but I think that's just the interpretation of the visible object rather than the visible object itself.
Like, because I was thinking that no one can change Varamattha. They have characteristics because they arise by condition. No one can change their characteristics. So I was just thinking.
Right. The color is not the characteristic of visible object. It's part of the detail.
What lead to my this question is, I have a conversation with my father. I see in the YouTube one document, one lady have taste problems. It's according the scientific way, she has some problem in a gene. She can eat only French fry and other food. What she eat, she would describe it like horrible. Like I would. So that's what made me think about, like in taste, in taste, like if I eat an apple, right, or even you eat an apple, what we concept as apple, the flavor, the sweetness, it can't be changed for salty or what and all that. So but the person who have this problem, she distinguishes it differently, and that lead. And then I talk with my father, then come to body senses. Like some people have some body skin problem, they are so sensitive to touch. Like if you just touch them, they will be so much pain. In fact, that if I touch someone else, just nothing. So
depends on what karma experiences at this very moment. Like we're both sitting on the sofa. For one, it may be softness, which seems very comfortable. For another, it may be hardness. But it depends on karma at this very moment, what is experienced, whether it is softness or hardness. Otherwise, we're just lost in the story about this apple is sweet or the sofa is soft. But at this very moment, what is experienced, depending on what rupa has impinged on the idol and what karma conditions the moment of experiencing right now. And one moment it's softness, another moment it's hardness, one moment painful bodily feeling, another moment pleasant bodily feeling, even though conventionally the situation seems the same. So it depends on karma at each moment, what is the taste that is experienced, bodily rupa that is experienced,
And
and
it's
so on.
important to realize that the characteristic of the reality is the same, regardless of how it's perceived. So in terms of the visible object, characteristic is always the same, whether it's perceived as being red or yellow or whatever color.
Yeah, but John, you say that color is not a characteristic of visible object. Why do you think that the color's not a characteristic?
Because the characteristic of visible object is that which is experienced by the eye consciousness.
I was thinking.
I would have thought visible object is the characteristic of the rupa, not the eye consciousness.
Sorry, say again, Rob.
I would have thought that the characteristic of the characteristic is related to the rupa, not to the consciousness.
That's correct. The characteristic of the rupa is just that which can be experienced by eye consciousness.
Yeah, and so every rupa, every rupa yatana,
Yeah,
is different, right? And I think that can be described as color.
but I think that's part of the detail rather than the characteristic. That's how I understand it, but Ajahn may like to explain a bit more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
Ajahn or
question.
Nina might come in.
Yeah.
What about no words, but there are different realities right now, differently, right? So if we don't use any term at all, but there must be that which is seen, just that. So the word visible object or light or color or whatever doesn't bring about the understanding of the truth, the characteristic of that at all. Just remember that, oh, it's that, as we have learned or heard about. But the truth is that no matter there is understanding or no understanding at all, there must be that which is seen, even we don't use any word at all. See, but to understand the truth of it is not easy because we used to understand it as something all the time, but it's not that which just appears. How long? So very short. No shape, no whatever we say, color or light or whatever. It has to be that when it appears as it is. And understanding that characteristic as just that which cannot be taken for anything at all. This is the point to see that we live in the world of concepts and nimitta all day, all time. That's why the truth is that there's no one, no thing, but there must be realities because that which is seen is there and the seeing is there. At this moment of seeing, see, begin to understand the truth of what is meant by Dhamma, the reality, what is real when it arises only. Otherwise, there is thinking about that, even it's there and no understanding, and then it's gone, no understanding, only thinking just about this or that all the time. So in order to have the reality appears as it is to the panya, it is the beginning to see that actually it's there, no name. But that is the reality which just appears, not the reality which experiences. To understand this in life, the truth is there are different things which cannot experience anything, and there are so many moments of experiencing all the time. Otherwise, there's no world. The world does not appear as world, or just one thing is a world. So altogether becomes the whole world, arising and falling away all the time. And this is the truth. To develop the understanding of the truth is better than just to try to find out the word. But the truth is now, and it can be studied to understand, and it can be firm confidence on the truth of no one. It's not there anymore. Whatever appears it's not there at all. And we keep on thinking that it's there, but actually it's gone. Even at the moment when it appears, who can enlighten the truth that it is there and rising and falling away all the time, different ones. And when we use the term different ones by way of processes, it's much more than that, so very fast that without panya, which can understand the nimitta of the different ones, there cannot be the understanding of no self, because of becoming acquainted to the truth that seeing is only a moment and it's gone, and hearing, it cannot be seeing. Different conditions, one begins to understand the conditions reality, the conditions who condition this moment. Otherwise, that is I all the time. At moment of seeing, no understanding of the characteristic which experiences from birth to death, and on and on and on, endlessly, until panya is there to let go the clinging, the ignorance, the wrong understanding, and so that which has learned can appear to the panya, which from then on it developed more and more to let go the idea of self until it's completely eradicated stage by stage. Otherwise we think about that with words all the time, but actually no word, because no matter you call it what, it is as it is. But we have to use the word to explain to what we are talking about, its nature and so on. But actually, it's only a moment of realities, thinking this and that all the time.
I think that the point is that what is seen, as you agree, is just that which is seen, just a visible object, and each one is different. But as soon as there's an idea of red or green or light or the other one points that Haji mentioned, immediately it's thinking about the nimitta and anubhyanjana of what is seen. It's not the visible object anymore, because visible object is just that which is seen. That's why I think it's better to talk about the visible object rather than the color, because as soon as we mention color, then thinking about colors. So it's a very fine point. I understand what you're saying, but I also understand that it's, in a way, it's not something to put into words, because it's just that which is seen at this moment.
Sarah, I understand what you're trying to say, but visible object mean color only, right? No? Color is thinking?
Each visible object is different, and we can say there's color there, but as soon as we start talking about the different colors that are seen, it's not the visible object seen anymore. It's thinking about the details, thinking about the signs of the visible object. So the visible object is just as it is at this moment, no matter we call it light or color or anything else, it's just as it is. But as soon as there's an idea of, I see this color and she sees that color, it's something there. It's thinking about the details. It's not the understanding of just that which is seen now as Dhamma.
But what is seen is color, isn't it? Because color means visible object. Is that right?
The two terms are not synonymous. So visible object is just that which impinges on the eye base. There, at that moment, there is no particular color to be known or experienced. That is, it's the thinking that follows the experience through the eye sense that recognizes a certain color.
I think that it actually means visible object. And we had this discussion a long time ago, the Ajahn we discussed how it's better to talk about visible object that's seen than color. But I think in Thai, the word for color is simpler, so it's used commonly. But it's just that which is visible at this moment, just that which is seen, no matter what color, no matter dark or light, but it's just that which is seen.
I'm a bit confused. I'm sorry if I'm but color, I know that if we talk about red and blue, like there many shade and all that, that is thinking. But the color, like for example, taste, sweet is a reality, right?
Right. So in the same way, each sound, low pitch, high pitch, and the same with color, different visible objects, different colors. But just like when we talk about high pitch, low pitch, it's thinking about the sign and details. It's the same with colors. When we start thinking about blue and green and colorblind and sensitive to light and so on, it's not the visible object, it's the thinking about the nimitta and anubhyanjana of what is seen at that moment.
For example, through the taste door, if there is the tasting of something that is a combination of sweet and sour, it will depend on the individual whether it is the sweetness or the sourness that is predominant taste at that time.
And
but that's only the processing of the experience of the taste.
Actually, only it's so fast, but actually it's either one moment sweet and then there's nimitta, then thinking, and then so far become combination. I get it what you're trying to say.
Yes.
It's the same with the visible object. Depends how it's perceived by the individual.
So the reason,
but nevertheless, the object is still independent of that consciousness, even though the it may be perceived in a different way. The visible object is still an ultimate reality, and it's not changed because of the perception or misperception of the different people.
Yes, and who's to say what is correct perception and what is misperception? Because both are a kind of thinking about the object.
like one may perceive different, the object that appear to each other are different, whether they're looking at the same, like red car in front of me, I'll say the red, and you also would say red. If one have a problem, they say purple, but that is because other factor, other condition that makes.
And even if we all agreed it was red, we would have a different kind of tone of red. You know, it'd be a different idea of whether it was an attractive red or an unattractive one, or a dark or a light red. All those degrees.
A lot of thinking about what is seen, and what is seen is quite unknown, because who knows what karma, what kind of seeing is conditioned by seeing at this very moment, because mostly it's lost in the mind or thinking about the seeing, thinking about what is seen, not the understanding of just that which is seen at this moment.
But I understand what you guys trying to say, but I just, because no one can change Intl.Dhamma. They have their own characteristics arise because of condition. No one can change.
Right.
So it's still
what is perceived as color is not part of the characteristic. When we talk about the characteristic of realities, the color is not part of the characteristic.
Why?
The exact tone, shade, or color is not part of the characteristic. But when we talk about characteristic, it's a different kind of idea altogether.
Haji, would a colorblind person know visible object as visible object and be wrong?
Visible object.
That I missed it.
But visible object is color. Now I'm all confused. Sorry.
Visible object appears as different colors. by thinking.
So visible object and color, they aren't the same thing.
A lot of time trying to work out what the visible object is or the sound is now, but again, it's just the story of the visible object or the sound. It's not the understanding of the reality as it is now. Just the Dhamma.
The characteristic of the reality is it's the unique quality which distinguishes it from all other realities.
Sarah, can I ask you a question here?
Go ahead, Tam.
Sarah, can akusala chitta arise in a dream? For example, like if I see myself fighting in the dream, then would that have the akusala chittas or?
The question really should be, can kusala chittas arise in the dream? Mostly all the chittas whilst dreaming are akusala, lobha and dosa and moha, almost all the time.
In the dream.
In a dream.
But sometimes I have the good dream, like helping other people. That cannot be a kusala.
Moments of kusala, moments of weak kusala, perhaps. Like now, mostly akusala, like a dream world now at this moment. Thinking about all kinds of things with lobha and moha most of the time. And in the dream, no sense door processes in between. So mostly it's just thinking about different stories, different fantasies with attachment and ignorance most of the time.
So that's only thinking, right?
Movements. Mostly thinking, yes.
But then again, my husband told me, he said to me, what did you dream? That night you kicked me a lot. So would that dream causing a kusala action then? I don't know how to say, I don't know how to explain it.
Karma pata, karma that can bring results. No, it's just thinking with our kusala chittas. But what about now? What about the thinking now? Because that's all gone. What about now? What about the thinking now? Kusala or akusala? Like whilst trying to remember one's past dreams or worrying about whether it was kusala or akusala when you kicked your husband. What about the thinking at this moment?
No thinking, I really kick him.
Yes, but were you dreaming that you were kicking him?
No, afterward. He said to me, what did you do? What did you do in the dream? You kicked me a lot that night.
My question is, what about right now, whilst thinking about what happened during the night several days ago? What kind of chittas are thinking about it now or worrying about whether it was karma that can bring result? What are the chittas at this moment?
That's akusala, yes.
Akusala, thinking about what happened and worrying about what will bring result and taking all those dreams for my thinking, my dreaming. Actually, they're just dhammas that passed. So what about at this moment? Just moments of thinking with worry, thinking about oneself, thinking about one's dreams.
Right, thank you.
No understanding of Dhamma at this moment, just moments of thinking that have arisen and gone completely. What does it matter what the dream was last night or several nights ago, because it's all gone anyway. Kusala or akusala, all gone.
Yes, thank you, yes. The moment, yes, the present, yep.
Back to now, the thinking at this moment.
Back, the characteristic of dhammas, I think, as I was saying, the characteristic of any dhamma is the unique quality which distinguishes that particular dhamma from all others. So if one thinks about it in that way, then the actual color is just part of the detail, the thinking that follows the experiencing.
Yep, that's right.
But,
thank you.
there has to be the particular visible object, whether we use the word visible object or color, but that is real, right? Am I right at this point?
Sorry, could you say that again, Hajit? I missed it.
Yeah. Whether we use the word visible object or color, because what's it's seen is the color at the moment. Whether we use visible object or color,
Are you talking about the moment that eye consciousness experiences?
Yeah.
So what does eye consciousness know a color?
The visible object. Eye consciousness, moment of seeing means sees visible object.
Experiences visible object.
Experience.
Yeah.
So, but visible object, they also like dhammas are various varieties. But when I say red, that is already thinking, right?
Each sound is different that is heard. Each taste is different that is tasted. Each visible object is different, but it's just the visible object as it is that is seen, just the sound as it is that is heard. And as soon as there's thinking about the loudness or softness or saltiness or sweetness or red or blue, it's thinking about sign of that reality.
Yeah, but
and one gets lost more and more in the story and forgets about just the understanding of what is seen as Rupa-Dhamma and the seeing itself. Just like each moment of seeing is different, but as soon as we get lost in the story about what kind of seeing it is at this moment, or what kind of hearing, whether it's this kind of hearing or that kind of hearing, then it's not the understanding of hearing or the understanding of seeing as Dhamma, my seeing or my hearing again.
I mean, color is a reality. It's a Paramatma-Dhamma. I'm right? No?
Which Paramatma-Dhamma is color?
If I think about different, because in Thai we say see mean colors. So is there?
Well, maybe we can ask John what is visible object? What Paramatma-Dhamma is visible object?
The one that's the object of eye consciousness.
Yeah, but even I would say even before or even without any consciousness of it, the Rupa has what you call visible object. It's an integral part of the Kalapa.
The one that's capable of impinging on the eye base and being experienced by visible object, being experienced by eye consciousness. That's the definition of visible object.
And what is the Pali word for that?
Yeah, it's usually Rupa in the Pali.
Yeah, it's like experiencing hardness. Hardness is integral to the Kalapa. Whether it
it's
hard.
The hardness is actually hardness, softness. So there's a range. There's a range of detail, if you like. But the characteristic is that it can be experienced through the body door by body consciousness, and it is experienced as hardness or softness, depending on the detail. So hardness is not a different characteristic from softness.
Right.
Just they're all the same reality with the same characteristic.
Well, no, I would say the characteristic is different because softness is different from hardness. although
That's
they
right.
are.
The point is, as I understand it, and let's ask Ajahn to comment on this, the characteristic of the rupa which is experienced as hard is the same as the characteristic of the rupa which is experienced as soft, just like heat and cold. It's one reality that we could call temperature. But depending on the detail, it'll be experienced as hot or cold.
But do you mean there's no difference in the ultimate reality at all? There's no different intensity of hotness or coldness, in fact?
Well,
it's
this
just
is
the way they're experienced.
When we talk about characteristic in the Dhamma, it doesn't mean the same as characteristic in the conventional sense. So in the Dhamma sense, characteristic means that quality which distinguishes that particular Dhamma from all other Dhammas.
Like hardness and softness are one type of characteristic. They are variety of hard or soft, but they are one. They are the same.
Yeah, same reality.
Jonathan, there is a Pali word for this, isn't it? Bhava, which means it bears its own nature. Is it bhava?
Dhara, D-H-A-R-A.
Oh, Dhara. Yeah, it comes from, because Dharma is derived from bears its own nature. So each reality is has its own nature, but within that, they all have different levels, like different pitches or different types of visible objects.
Yes.
But so Dhara is characteristic.
It's the essence of the thing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Dhara or Sabhava?
That's another word also.
Okay. So what is the difference between the two? Because I never heard about the word Dhara.
Well, actually, Dhara just means to bear. So it's one of those explanations of why are they called Dhammas? They're called Dhammas because they bear Dhara, their own characteristic. So it's one of those.
And the word for visible object in Pali is rupa ramana, right?
Well, sometimes it's just rupa.
Okay.
But in Thai we say see mean colors, right?
Let's let Ajahn come in and add more to.
You see, it is not easy to understand the absolute truth of reality because we live in the world of concept and what appears as not it is at all. But in order to understand the truth of it, it's not just that we can understand only the words, but to understand the reality, the nature of it. For example, how short and fast realities arise and fall away. See, no matter rupa or nama, but when we talk about the rupa exists for 17 moments of citta, it means that how short for 17. Even it's longer than citta. So what about just citta, which arises and falls away in split seconds? Experiences, just experiences from the absolute truth to the thought or concept about that which appears. So just thinking about, no matter we call it color or that which can be seen, but it's there only at moment when there is seeing. And we don't have to say that seeing sees, but the nature of reality is that at moment of what appears, at moment of to the eye sense or when one opens one's eye, it's there. And it's not a tree, it's not a table, it cannot be anything, only that how fast it is thinking about that. Seeing sees. And when it's seeing, it cannot think about shape and form or concept or word at all. It just sees. So what it's seen, think about how short it is. It cannot be like what we name it color, because we think of different colors. But the reality, the nature of that which appears now, is moment of seeing, that which is so fast that no one can say anything about it, because it appears as it is. This is the absolute truth. It's nature. So it's beyond word when it's not there yet. How can we think about the moment of just experiences that, no matter you call it different from visible object and color, and you can have different words, but it cannot change the characteristic that it appears to seeing and the process of seeing only. So it cannot be taken for anything at all, no matter you use the word visible object, see. But when it's there, no word to say that it is visible object, but the characteristic which appears is so very fast, how very little is there. See, its nature is that. And it has to be that when there is seeing, that's all. Just like touching, we learn that that which is touched arises, otherwise it cannot be touched. And the following away, arising and falling away is there all the time. Even there is just very short moment of touching, but so many processes and many rupas. And so thinking about that which is touched and that which is seen and that which is taste, see, we live in the world of ignorance, not understanding the truth of that which is the world of nothing, just arising and falling away all the time. That's why from understanding this, there is the moment of letting go, of trying to think about that or this, but to understand that which appears at moment of touching. See, is there any moment of understanding that is so short and that which is hard? We think that it's hard when they come together, but when just only one, which is broken up, is it hard or hot or cold enough? Just only that, very short. That's why we can understand that what we take in life is that the processes of the arising and falling away of the nature of Dhamma, which is different. That's why no matter we think about color, we think about the word visible object, but it's not like the moment when it's there with right understanding of that. And even we don't use the word visible object, we don't use the word sound, we don't use the word taste. Realities are different, but so very little before it can come together as, or it's so very sweet or very bitter, see. That's why when we talk in the sense of Dhamma, it's much more than we can talk about different words, about different realities, because it has to be the moment of right understanding of direct awareness of an object to understand in the beginning the characteristic which experiences and the characteristic which cannot experience. For example, we heard a lot, it does matter as long as it does not appear as it is yet. We keep on to hear it again and again, to be conditioned to understand that how much right understanding of what we have heard is there. For example, what is seen now in truth, and what is seen as now as something all the time. So it's not the moment of direct experience is the truth yet. So to understand that the truth is not easy to think in words, but to develop the understanding of no self. And when it appears, no need to say that it is through eye door or ear door or what doorway, because the doorway does not appear, but the characteristic of that which appears is there, different. And we know that it's just nothing. The point is to understand it, that nothing is permanent. It just arises and falls away. So we begin to understand what we mean by that which is seen. See, do we have to use the word color or any word, or that which is seen, only a reality, and it can appear only moment of seeing. That's all, no more. Just to understand that which appears. That, see, no need to say any word or anything, but it's there. To understand it as just it only appear to that moment, and we don't have to name it through sense or idol or whatever. Because the truth is that it's gone. As soon as it's there, it's gone. And the truth of that level of understanding is not yet, because no condition to arise yet, but the truth is there. Just close your eyes and opens very fast. See, that which is seen, that which is seen. But it's not as when it appears to the developed panya, to the degree that nothing there at all, only that which appears. But it's the beginning, because it pay attention of just be aware, little by little, of that which appears now.
Ajahn, you said don't use any words, and I know what you mean. But so long as there is not yet
Don't say that. I didn't say that. Don't use any word. But at moment when it appears, no thought about whether it is visible object or it is that which is seen. See, no word at that moment, because it's just like now, no word at moment of seeing. To learn little by little, to get to the truth which is there as no one and nothing. See, no one and nothing, no word, but it's there.
But we feel lost when no words are used, like the doorways, for instance. We feel quite lost if we don't use any words.
At that moment of experiencing with understanding. But when there's no understanding, it's thinking about that. No matter what, whether it's word, it's seeing, or whether it's color, or whether it's that which is seen. But the moment when right understanding, deeply down to penetrate the truth, no need for any words, because the appearance of the truth is there.
I think when there is not yet direct understanding, no words are needed. But so long as it is only intellectual understanding, maybe words are needed.
But it needs word in the beginning. The words of the Buddha, the teachings about what appears and what is there, that which can experience or that which cannot experience, only that.
In the beginning, we need words then.
Certainly. Otherwise, how can there be any understanding if there's no hearing about the truth? To understand it as no self. This is the point. Is it?
But Nina, even in the beginning, there can be the understanding that when there's direct understanding, it's just knowing the reality, no words. I was just saying, Nina, that even in the beginning, there can be some understanding that when there is direct understanding, it's just a characteristic of reality, no words at time.
But the doorways, we use the words for the doorways. To which doorway?
Right. I think what Ajahn was reminding us is that is to understand the reality appearing now. So when the doorways don't appear, then we are just talking about something that does not appear, and just without any understanding.
Right now, at moment of seeing, do you have to say that it's the process, either process or what the way, this moment? But the understanding, the difference between different ways, seeing is not the same as hearing. The sound is not that which is seen. We use the word to understand what the truth is, but at that moment of experiencing, just looking at someone, do you have to say the name and what you heard about that person?
That's a good example, yes.
And this is the subtlety, the very deep and profound way to attain enlightenment. See, so deep, all for noble truths, including the path. And this moment is the path, very subtle too. Just develop the truth of no one and no self. Learn about the nature of the truth, of everything. It's not there as something. It's a moment of experiencing the truth of it.
For example, at the moment of touching now, Nina, it's just the tangible object, just that which is touched. It doesn't matter whether it's called hardness or whether it's called temperature, but just that which is touched at this moment. So at the moment of understanding, no word there at all. So we just use words to communicate, that's all. At the moment of touching, it's just that which is touched. At the moment of hearing, it's just that which is heard. But we talk about sound, so it's clear what we're referring to. But when there's understanding of what is heard, no word sound.
And the absolute truth is that it has to be many processes, not one process of body door, but also mind door is there unknown just like now. It seems like there is only seeing, but actually there is mind door process as well. At moment of hearing, sound appear, not just the process of ear door, but mind door process too. See how fast it is. So we just learn one word at a time to understand what is it, how many different level or degree or aspect, like vitaka, can be either with akusala citta or kusala citta, kiriya citta, vipaka citta, and also moment of the path leading to understand the truth of what we are talking about. It needs vitaka. Samma sankappo. No one, see?
Asita, did you want to bring up the topic you brought up at the very end of last week? I don't know what it was because we'd lost our connection, but Nina suggested that you continue with it.
I can't remember what it was.
Hold on.
But you found it very difficult, I remember. You were puzzled. You looked puzzled. And then you were wondering about something.
No, can't remember. Sorry.
I have the notes here, what Azita was talking about that time. And she was talking about the process she does, which aid in organizing a process of organizing the cognizing of a rupa, say, or ahetuka. There's no janda needed with them. It's automatic that that they're not, there's no janda needed. That's what basically you were talking about.
Sorry, that doesn't sound familiar.
Really? That's what the last thing I have in the notes. The jittas that are in a process of a sense door process, say, these are ahetuka jittas. They're not roots. No, that's anyway, that's what we're talking about.
I have a question to Sarah. Last time, Sarah gave a good explanation that it doesn't really matter whether the concepts or realities are experienced. And then Sarah said, when we say we live in the world of nimitta, there is thinking of different people and things. And then she said, a shorthand nimitta of many different realities are the condition for the thinking of different objects. But about the shorthand, I did not quite get it.
Your question, as I recall last week, was what Ajahn mentioned, why Ajahn said that we lived in the world of nimitta, why not in the world of concepts? And I think I said it doesn't matter whether we say now we live in the world of nimitta or we live in the world of concepts. Yes. If there are no nimitta of realities, then there cannot be thinking about concepts about them. If there's no nimitta of various visible objects seen, there can be no concepts, no stories about the different reds and blues and people and things as usual. So when we say we live in the world of nimitta, it means because of the nimitta of the different realities experienced, it conditions the thinking about different ideas, different panyati, making known what they are, different impressions of different shapes, forms, colors, and ideas. So saying we live in a world of nimitta is like a shorthand for saying we live in the world of nimitta, and there, as a result, we live in a world of concepts, thinking all sorts of things about the realities that have been experienced.
Yes, that is clear. Thank
Just
you.
a short form, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
By which we know the reality, then nimitta, a world of nimitta means world of reality.
When you mean this, when you mean nimitta, it's not sankhara nimitta, right? It's just like when we say we live in the world of nimitta. Nimitta here is concept, right? Nimit and anupayanchana. Am I right or wrong?
The sankhara nimitta, the nimitta of different realities, it conditions the thinking about ideas, thinking about anupayanchana, different details of what has been seen and heard and so on. So there have to be sankhara nimitta in order for there to be those different concepts. So living in the world of nimitta means the nimitta of realities conditions the thinking about all the ideas. Yes. Sometimes we get hung up on the words, but it's actually just about this moment, thinking about the stories and ideas with regard to the different realities that have been experienced.
I think what Harji might be asking is nimitta a Paramatha Dhamma? Is it a Jetasika or a Jitta, right? Is that what you're asking? Okay, and it's not. It's a theoretical, I guess, a concept that allows for the cognizing of the object even after the object has fallen away by a thought mind door process.
It's the sign of reality because countless objects have been experienced. So it's the sign of that reality. That's why even when it's insight, understanding, very direct, clear understanding of reality, It's actually understanding of the sign of reality.
Right,
So
but
it's not
the
theory or concept.
the
It's the
nimitta
sign of reality.
is a concept.
Yeah, I understand when each Dhamma arrives, like seeing fall away, but the sign is still there and on to become a concept and all that. That's nimitta is concept. But when I say sankhara nimit, like is that what fallen away is also sankhara nimit? I'm not sure. I want to clarify.
I have another point. Tom brought up in DSG about confidence. He mentioned that confidence was so much stressed by Ajahn. So I was thinking a bit more about confidence because Ajahn said, confidence in the truth will condition awareness of one reality at a time. And this was repeated many times. Maybe Ajahn can elaborate a little more about confidence.
Without panya, is it what confidence we are talking about?
Yes.
It has to be panya. See,
panya.
you have confidence on right understanding of the truth. See, no one, but there are only dhammas. See, confident or not confident yet.
Confidence.
See, and what about each different realities arising and falling away by conditions? Confident enough? Or very, very weak confident?
It has to be weak in the beginning, yeah.
But we understand what we mean by confident on the truth, the absolute truth. No one, see? It is the beginning of confidence on the path to understand that actually there is no one at all, but the idea, the clinging to something permanent is accumulated so much in a day, very tight, very sticky. Whatever is there is something all the time, even it's not known yet, but what is it? See, something there. And who think? See, the khandhas, citta and cittasikas unknown. See, from hearing and understanding the truth, it is more and more confident on the truth that it can be directly known, but not now. Only the panya, which has been developed to the degree that it can letting go from the very beginning, that no one, and because it's seeing now, hearing is there and then gone, never to be found again. See, confident. The confidence is not just trying to have it where it is so that I will gain and have more confidence, but it's a moment of understanding the truth, condition more and more confident. That's why the one who is so much confident on the Dhamma, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, must be the enlightened one. See, the confidence of the truth which has been experienced directly. No doubt anymore, no misunderstanding anymore, no ignorance about something there, never to arise again. Much more confidence than the first day to hear about it. So
the idea of I want more confidence is a hindrance. So when there is real confidence with panya, it means the path is understood. The path can be developed.
Otherwise, why do we keep on talking about the truth? Because we have confidence on the truth enough to understand that it's not yet enough to let go. Because this is still a glass, that is still a table and a chair, but that which is seen, see, does not appear as is yet, but it will appear for sure to the highly developed panya, not just the intellectual understanding, more than that. And the beginning of the moment of direct awareness is there, to be known that it has to be only that moment which can lead to more understanding of the truth of it. And no word to say that whether it is sense-door or mind-door, until it's time of vipassana jnana, no doubt about mind-door process. Because in life today, what appears is only sense-door, while mind-door is more than sense-door, but it's not known yet. So what appears doesn't appear as it is. And it appears to only panya, which develop to the degree that it have confidence on the truth, to study, to let go the wrong understanding and ignorance, because without understanding, what can eliminate the idea of self and ignorance? That's why life goes on as usual with confidence more and more, that it has to be panya which understand what moment by conditions, not by we select time and object at all.
Ajahn, so is there a difference between this confidence talking about and the confidence that arises with other forms of kusala?
So what in Pali, what can be, what we say, confidence?
It's sattva cetasi.
See, and when even now at moment of of understanding, sattva must be there, but it does not show up at all. But it's there. So it's the moment when no akusala cetasika arising with it, with that particular citta, because of no ignorance, no attachment, and no dosa. That moment, see, who can know that sattva is there? So it's clear from all akusala cetasikas.
So basically, that's.
And when it's strong enough, it can appear that no other thing can be worthy than the teachings to understand the truth in life. It's just like miracle. Who can eliminate ignorance and attachment? See, but the words of the truth and the development of panya, more confidence, is there. At that moment, the sattva begins to appear depending on conditions. Everything depends on conditions. Even right understanding depends on condition and careful considering.
Ajahn, when you say in the development of right understanding, the characteristic of sattva begin to appear, which
Depending
in
on
fact,
conditions.
depending on conditions, when it appears, then is it at that time understood that this sattva is that particular cetasika with that function, with that characteristic, which also arises with other kusala moments? Is it the
Many
same?
seekers. Who knows? Kaya pasati, citta pasati, and so on. See? But do you, when someone say that, no, it's permanent, it's me. What about sattva? Your sattva, see? Do you change your mind? Or nobody can change, because it's conditioned to understand the truth. And sattva develops with panya. That's why it's the Dhamma.
So what about sattva that arises with dana and sila? What is that sattva?
Depending on conditions, with panya or without panya. So panya can arise when time comes, when the conditions is enough to condition such level of panya. It can be right now, see, unexpectedly, to show the anothernness clearer and clearer all the way. Otherwise, it will go down.
So if there's kusala but without panya, like moment of dana or moment of metta, there is sada, there is confidence in kusala at that moment, but without understanding. It is clear from akusala at that moment, but just for a moment. No understanding, so it doesn't develop, but at that very moment of metta, it's confident in being kind at that moment. No akusala at that instant.
Yes, I think for sada, we have to think of clear from akusala. That is the meaning, like the pure gem in the water.
That's why it arises with every kusala.
Yeah, that's right. That is easier to understand. That all, like you ask, Sukin, you ask about other kinds of kusala, they are all included then, because free from akusala, the purity of the citta, and that is sada.
Yeah, but when we use the word confidence, it seems to add something more to that. To that.
In a conventional way, maybe we get confused about the word confidence, I think.
Sarah or Ajahn, I have I've seen in Thai 8-fold path, right? Samma like Panya, Sati, and all that, Samma Vitaka. There's also wrong fourth path, Micha, right? And then they have one word, Micha Sati. Sati means awareness. We know that awareness is a good deed because it had to aware in a good way, means either dhan, seen, or pavana. But when we say a wrong awareness, I don't know. Awareness is a good, wholesome deed. So how come? What do you mean by wrong awareness in
So
wrong path?
there's no Chaitasika, Akusala, Sati. It's just referring, just like there's no Chaitasika, Kanti. It's actually referring to Virya. So when it refers to Akusala, Sati, it's just referring to Mija Sati. It's just referring to various Akusala Chaitasikas like Lobha or Dosa or ignorance, different Akusala Chaitasikas at that moment.
Because
there's no Chaitasika, Mitra Sati.
Because we understand that if awareness is a wholesome deed, awareness is a good way. That is sati, I understand.
So here the forgetfulness is referring to akusala factors, not the conventional idea of forgetfulness, but when there's no guarding from akusala at those moments.
Yeah.
And your question last week about lying, and so I checked, any lying can arise with any feeling, so it can arise with lobha or dosa because it can arise with unpleasant.
It has to be either lobha or dosa, right?
Yes, because it can arise with any feeling. Yes.
But moha, I don't think lying.
Lobha or dosa.
Lobha or dosa.
I thought it was that. But Mitra Sati just refers to the opposite of Sati. It means forgetfulness, forgetful to guard against kusala at those moments.
Oh, I see. Because when we say vichasati also mean actually not there's no particular chaitastic at vichasati, but mean akusala, that forgetfulness or nature of akusala.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes. Several chaitasikas.
So all akusala we can say that is michasati mean is because it's without sati is forgetful.
Exactly.
I also heard that when what is not sati but taken to be sati, then it's called mithya sati, right? Or any kind of akusala is mithya sati.
In connection with the Eightfold Path, this is especially stressed to indicate that there is no sati, but there is, and it's called mithya sati, as Sarah explained already. So in that connection of the Eightfold Path, this term is used, yeah.
And particularly those akusala factors that are being developed with wrong understanding, because the first factor of the wrong path is wrong understanding. So, like, as you say, the fake sati, when one thinks one is being aware while focusing on a particular object, for example, mithya sati, with wrong understanding.
So because sati, mithya sati, we can also say that nature of akusala, that forgetfulness. Is that correct? Can I say like that also?
The nature, the forgetfulness, that especially with wrong understanding, following the wrong path, thinking that focusing on an object or going to a special place or sitting in a particular position. So the kind of awareness associated with wrong practice is wrong awareness.
But like when we study about Dhamma, awareness has to be wholesome deed in a wholesome way. There's no awareness in unwholesome way. So that is sati, is kusala. But when we say mithya sati, is just referring to forgetfulness of nature of akusala.
Sorry, I think also that there is nothing like cetasika, there is forgetfulness, isn't it?
What I mean to say that akusala, all kind of akusala, forgetfulness, but not that there's a cetasika that forgetfulness. It's not like that.
Ayoniso manasikara and so on. So even when studying the Dhamma, like even during the Dhamma discussion, there can be moments of right awareness and moments of wrong awareness, moments of right understanding, moments of wrong understanding, moments of wise attention, moments of unwise attention. So it all depends on the citta at this moment, not on the conventional situation.
So awareness, wrong awareness is just referring to
different cittas.
Akusala, but there's no particular wrong awareness cetasik. It's not, because awareness is a wholesome deed in a wholesome way.
Yes. The wrong path is just to show the opposite of everything right.
Because that was also why I asked in the beginning, because Ajahn always says to study every word, yeah, and question everything. So I was wondering what can be this forgetfulness, yeah, in life, what we call forgetfulness actually, you know, because this is not a cetasika, yeah. That's just my loose thought on that, you know.
So, for example, when we talk about sanya vipalasa, the perversion of sanya, it's referring to akusala sanya, which arises any moment with akusala citta. So it's not the same as any conventional ideas of forgetfulness. For example, it's not the same as losing something or forgetting about the reality now. So it has to be very precise to understand, like right now, is there kusala or akusala sanya, kusala or akusala vitaka. And I think Ajahn would like to talk more to you about vitaka. So at which moments vitaka arises and when it is kusala vitaka and akusala vitaka, because vitaka plays such an important role in the development of the path, and there can be sama vitaka and miccha vitaka. So even now there is vitaka arising at almost every moment.
Sama sankapa. No?
Yes, this is.
I think that it's good to just talk about one word at a time to have more and more understanding, a little bit clearer and clearer as it can be at level of intellectual understanding. For example, just come back to the word sati because it is one of the Eightfold Paths like vitaka. But just a moment ago, we just talked about sati. Usually, people have right or wrong understanding. Usually, or always. See, we have to understand the truth that we just use the word or speak out without any understanding of any word we use at all, like sati or awareness in any language, in English or in Thai, but no understanding of what Buddha taught for the reality, which is sati. That's why we use the word sati. Just be aware whenever you do, whatever you do, so that it will harm or hurt you at all. That is not sati, but we use the word awareness, or in Thai, sati, and the same word as Pali, sati. But sati has to be wholesome. At that moment, it protects one from doing good, unwholesome deeds or speech, see, or even thinking in wrong way with akusala citasikas. That's why sati is that which arises with each moment. Who knows? We use the word sati for only in some situation only, but actually we have to understand each moment, whether that is moment with sati or without sati. When we understand that there are many levels of sati too, not just the sati with dana or sila, but more than that. So when we talk about wrong sati or miccha sati, it's opposite of samma sati of the Eightfold Path. Usually there is the word develop sati, see, or practice sati. So that is wrong understanding, because not understanding that sati is not self. It's just the reality which arises with each citta of each different levels. So the truth is that can anyone understanding this moment whether it is sati or not? See, we talk about sati but not understanding this moment as whether there is sati with this moment or not. The same as vitaka. Can anyone know whether there is vitaka now? With what kind of citta? Because citta arises from moment to moment by conditions. We learn to understand the absolute truth from the Buddha's teaching, to understand that actually what we just think about is not as it is, without studying the words of the Buddha, like how many citta arising with vitaka or sati of what level, see. So we use that, we understand that sati is wholesome depending on whether it arises with panya or not. For example, at this moment of understanding, is there sati? From learning, hearing the words of the Buddha, sure, at moment of understanding there must be sati, but at level of intellectual understanding. So sati develops by conditions, hearing again and again, considering again and again, to understand that sati at level of understanding conventionally the truth, is not the same as sati when it's there. From hearing more to know whether that moment which arises at moment of touching, whether there is sati with it or not. This is the way to understand sati, the characteristic of sati, not just the word sati. See, the same as vitaka, see, who knows? Because satipatthana, without understanding the characteristic of sati, can it be satipatthana? When it's not the satipatthana, can there be the understanding of vitaka? Does it arise to be the object? See, that's why we learn about realities and understand the different moments, whether it's there or not, like now. At moment of understanding, there must be vitaka, but it's not samma sankappa of the Eightfold Path, arising together with high level of panya enough to be direct understanding of that which appears. So we just learn about the truth and understand the moment when it's there. But we can talk about it to know that when anyone wants to have sati and practicing sati, it's not sati, but it's miccha sati, arising with attachment and wrong understanding. All cetasikas are there, are all miccha. See, miccha sankappa, miccha titi, miccha vayama, see, all miccha of the Eightfold Path.
So, Ajahn, when we say Miccha Sati, it has to be because along with wrong view in the wrong path, right? Or
Miccha, what is the meaning of miccha?
Miccha means wrong.
Okay.
So, when we say Micchasati in the sense that because all other Chetasika in wrong, wrong vitaka, wrong view, wrong kriya and all that. So that's why we say that the nature of it is also Micchasati. Is that right?
Can we use another word? Another word? Another word? Not just one word. But the understanding is more important than just the word. It's wrong, but of what degree, of what object, at what moment?
Because Ajahn, what I wanted to ask that because we're talking about path, mean there is have to be a wrong path and right path. Wrong mean because of wrong view and right path because of panya.
So now we just talk about the path leading to understanding, but when it's wrong, understanding our Eightfold Path is wrong Eightfold Path, not right Eightfold Path.
But actually what I'm trying to ask is that can we say that because all moment of akusala is forgetfulness, so can we say Micchasati, is that right to say, or is only when there's wrong path?
And what about the truth? Not what we say, but what are the truth of all Cetasikas there? What level? We're talking about what level of reality.
Ajahn, you can go proceed on.
What about one's understanding is the most important thing. I can go along, but what about the other's understanding? When we talk about just to understand, for the sake of understanding, not for my sake, just to talk.
think it's time up. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Ajahn. Sawadee ka.
Thank you very
See you
much, Ajahn.
next week. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Sadika. Thanks,
That's-
everyone.
Thank
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Thanks.